You ready? I got one for you. Cynthia, I was going to ride my bike to work today, but it was too tired. Thank you, Rosie. Thank you.
Tired?
No, it was too tired. Yeah, the lack of feedback from a blank screen is also wild. And I wanted to start off with that because I think that is, for many of us, that's our new reality, is speaking to a screen, not getting the same type of verbal and nonverbal feedback that most of us educators are used to. So I also say that because that's, not only is that going to be our new normal, that's going to be a chance for us to potentially reach into other parts of our neurological system and our senses, because in a classroom, we're used to having so many dynamic inputs. Yet here on Zoom, it's just this and whatever you've got around you. Some of you are probably in your home. Some of you are out back. Jacqueline, I can see that you're kicking it out back, getting a little sunshine maybe here in a few. That's kind of cool. I've got my buddy Emiliano up here. I wanted to introduce him. I'll unclick my screen share for a second so you all can see each other's faces a little bit more clearly. Emiliano brought the Community Resilience Model up to Butte County. He's a master trainer, and at any point during this conversation and this educational piece, if you feel triggered or you feel like something that we're discussing is a little bit more intense than you can handle for the moment, message Emiliano privately and he will walk you through some of the skills that I'm going to teach you today in order to regulate your neurological system. Quick reminder, put your cameras on if you haven't yet, because I'm about to get going. Screen sharing for you now. The boost. Ha! I'm hoping that I can entertain you as much as educate. If you're a Disney fan, you're going to love this. If you're not a Disney fan, whatever. Here's what we got coming at you. Making sure, I need to get that off of my screen. All right, cool. Get out. The Trauma Resource Institute is what brought this up. This is original content from Mrs. Miller-Carras. Her first name's Elaine. Introductions. We already did our shout outs down there. Oh, I've got Baby Yoda up top right here. I don't know if you knew this, but that's not actually Baby Yoda. It's like another from that race. We'll talk Mandalorian at a different time, all you. I like Cynthia's like, yeah, set him straight, Scott, come on. So I'm the master presenter. Nick Harris gets to take the day off from being the tech ninja. We have, where'd Alicia go? She's in there. If you're having any issues with your technology, reach out to Alicia or to Tia, please. You can contact them through the Zoom chat. Best practices. Man, I would love to see more faces than I'm currently seeing. Expectation management. We should be done about 90 minutes. It's going to be interactive and experiential. Get your fingers ready for this. I've got a bunch of polls aligned and a bunch of breakout room opportunities. So brush your teeth, do your hair, let's get rolling. To manage your expectations as well, this is normally a 40-hour training. And for me, it was 40 hours in front of a Zoom camera, in front of my screen in order to learn all this. So I'm going to squeeze all this in at about 90 minutes. Almost every concept we talk about today has hours more depth to it. If you'd like to discuss that, I've got an email that will pop up at the end here. Very much looking forward to exploring some of these big thoughts with you all. So big thoughts. The way I consider big thoughts in my life, my existence, a brush with mortality. Maybe you have a big thought from a Joe Rogan podcast or one of the other brilliant podcasters out there. I find big thoughts in moments of humility, in a good book, obviously in a Disney movie. My personal favorite happens to be Moana because, I mean, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right, people? Come on. People's elbow. A conversation with a loved one. I'm married. I have a 2-year-old daughter. She turns 2 on Saturday. And bun in the oven. We should have another daughter by the end of the month, which is wild. And then, of course, heated discussions with students. Most of the incredible moments of teacher-based humility I've had is when I've got a student who's really on their game and has been paying attention, kind of calls me out of my stuff. And lastly, and I hope this is the big one for you, I'd love for this presentation to drop a couple big thoughts on you. So to that end, I'm going to warm up your mind. Alicia, let's go ahead and get poll number 1 fired up. All right, which of these produces a pleasant thought for you? Jump in and go ahead and start answering those questions there. So far, what I see is a walk in nature. I've got some other Disney fans out there. Love to see it. Not a lot of podcasters. Good to know. We got, yep, a walk with nature is still way out in front, which I love to hear. That's the organization that I sit on top of. Like, I'm the grant master here. We were funded $100,000 in order to stand up for nature, like in the face of screens, in the face of healing. The town that I'm from up here has had some incredible opportunities to heal recently. So that's one of the reasons why I put that in the poll. All right, there's 10 people that haven't answered, which is interesting. Makes me think that they just kind of pushed it and walked away. Whatever, it's your world, just saying. Go ahead and end that for us, Alicia. Thank you very much. Looks like we've got a walk with nature is what the group is, I'd say, the most fond of, which again, I wish we could be doing this out on a nature walk somewhere, but instead, we're in front of our screens. Most of my big thoughts, like if you want a bulletproof system for just engaging in massive thoughts, you gotta engage with our homie Neil deGrasse Tyson here. It feels like he's got his finger on the pulse of the biggest thoughts possible. This is my personal favorite piece of art. It's called The Cosmos, and all of you that are Disney Plus members, maybe you've already seen it. Jump into it. It'll describe for you both the biggest things that exist to our human knowledge as well as some of the smallest. And that duality seems to be incredibly powerful and empowering. Shout out to my boy Neil. Y'all mother fathers need science. Some of you know what I mean right there. Next thing we got, the biggest thought that I can introduce to you right now is if you're here in front of us, engaged, what is also true? Any thought that I display for you here today or that we engage in, there's going to be a corollary or the opposite, the yin to the yang. And when we engage with others' neurological systems, and as we look at our own neurological systems, we have to keep this thought in common or else we're losing a bunch of information. So what else is also true? Very, very big thought. The Community Resilience Model is going to teach you 3 of the 6 skills today. What's neat about these skills, they work across your lifespan. I wish I had learned them earlier, honestly. It works across cultures. And most importantly, it works with different literacy abilities. I'm trying some of these skills with my daughter. Her name's Reese right now. And I think that she really enjoys the concept of an octopus being like a brain outside of a body. And if you've never heard a 2-year-old say octopus, you're missing out on some of the special stuff in life. Glad to see a couple of smiles on there, folks. Like I said, trying to entertain and educate. We're going to talk about resiliency today and how the neurological system reacts and interacts with this concept. In the chat box, let's get funky, people. Warm up your typers. All you hunt and peckers, here's a little lead. What is your definition of resiliency? Ready, go. Blow up that chat box, homies. Inner strength and support. Love it, Jacqueline. Strong start. Way to kick us off. Being able to adapt and overcome challenges. Katie, raise the roof. All right, moment of clarity. There's like 40 people on this call and I've got 2 answers. Just saying, it's your hour and a half. Flexibility, adaptation, being able to have the will to move forward through a challenge. Give it to me, Cynthia. Flex on it, girl. I love it. Being persistent no matter what the obstacle is. Being able to push forward and reach a goal. Rhonda, I love it. All right, about another 10 seconds to get the last couple of answers in there. Being strong enough to help yourself first. Rosie, you're in my brain. Strong will, pushing forward. Well, there's a lot about strength in here. I agree. I agree 100%. Ooh, Estella, strong soul. That one felt good. Being tough. Thank you, Chelsea. Adapt, react, readapt, apt. That's kind of neat. I can't wait to hear more about that. Resilience for me is overcoming and to recover strongly. The process of adapting. Wow, you're all on your game. This is how we at the Community Resilience Model define it. Resiliency is an individual's and a community, like the concept of a community being resilient. It's a big thought. Community's ability to identify and use individual and collective strengths in living fully with compassion. Oh, with compassion. In the present moment. And to thrive while managing the activities of daily living. I'm sure some of you have already today experienced a couple of things that you didn't expect. And if you haven't, maybe you're not pushing hard enough. I don't know. That's a separate conversation. Activities of daily living. We'll jump into that a little bit more. Not only are we just surviving, I want this to be a concept that helps us thrive. And it has helped me quite a bit. In order to thrive, the Community Resilience Model asks you to shift your thoughts from the conventional assumption, interacting with a student or interacting with a colleague, a loved one, the conventional assumption that most of us educators have been taught is people are bad, people need to be punished. That's the nun with the ruler, right? People just don't care. And that we need to stop making excuses for people, that they need to step up and pull it together. Ultimately, we ask the question, what's wrong with you, bro? Well, then the trauma-informed approach came along. It brought a little bit more awareness. First, it was an assumption, there's something wrong with you. Now, trauma-informed came along. That's where most of us have been educated in ACEs and in how to interact with students or people of challenge, or that will present a challenge. And that helped us understand that people are suffering. People need an effective intervention. Perhaps we're the person for that. And that many people care, but they just lack the understanding and the skills. That we need to learn how trauma impacts a child and an adult's development. Ultimately, we stopped asking, what's wrong with you? And we started asking, well, what happened to you? Because you weren't always like this. And now, here comes the Community Resiliency informed. Now, we've moved from assumption to awareness, so let's take some action. My Avengers fans out there, my Steve Rogers fans, big fans. Now, we assume people are resilient. People need our compassion as they learn the skills. We're going to touch on compassion often. Almost every time I say compassion, if you're looking up at the screen, I put my hand over my heart because I think that's where my compassion comes from. That any person can learn self-regulation skills based on science. Neil, do you feel me? Based on science. And then we need to learn how these skills of well-being can reduce suffering across a lifespan. Ultimately, we now stop asking, what is wrong with you? What's happened to you? And now we start asking, what is right with you? What are your strengths? Let's warm your brain up again. What do you see? Poll number 2, Alicia, coming at you, poll number 2. What do you see in this picture? Alicia, kick off that poll for us. All right, get funky fingers, here we go. In our poll number 2, what do you see? What is my slide showing you? We've got a cow, we've got 2 faces, we've got a pixelated map. I love the answer. I don't know, this is something on the screen. A black and white forest scene, love it. Cool, now they're rolling in. A lot of people are seeing 2 faces. Oh, everyone sees 2 birds? Love it. Way to use the chat box, Evelyn, right? Nobody sees a meteor, okay? Okay? A black and white forest scene. Lots of people don't know. Throw the hands up. I'm interested. Rosie, what did you see? Okay. Birds, though. Okay, okay, gotcha. All right, there's still 11 people that haven't voted. Very telling. A flying lion. Thank you, Conrad. I haven't heard that one before. That's good. A mama bird bringing food to the nest. Oh, this is going to be fun. All right, Alicia, let's crush that polling. It looks like most people just don't know. Okay, fair enough. Well, it's a cow. Look at that. Thank you, baby. I see your face go, heh. Yeah, that's a cow. Now, here's my challenge to you. Try and unsee the cow. Can't do it. Once you see the cow, it's almost impossible to see anything but the cow. And these skills that I'm going to teach you today that we're about to jump into are the same way. Once you learn that you are at every given point of your existence from this moment forward, interacting with another person's neurological system, you can't unthink this thought. You can choose to ignore it, but we all have access to this language of our biology. It's with us every moment. We also have access to this framework to help us understand the human experience. But y'all didn't know we were going to be talking about the human experience today, right? Eckhart Tolle knew all about that. At any given moment, your neurological system is both observing and on display in a myriad of ways that we're not going to be able to get to today. But it's fascinating. I hope that that's one of the things you come away with today. And you can probably hear it in my voice. The sparkle that this thought brings to my every moment has slowed down the way I interact with time, with the goal to then ultimately bring about social justice, dignity, and a respect worth of every person, every family, and every single community. Those of you that are not deep in the, I would call it the mental health and wellness realm, most of us that are teachers or educators, this is a great chance to dip your toe into this model that can help you create a common language. Because until you can label something, can you really discuss it? Can you really get into the depths of it? Let's really take a look at this model. And your day. Things happen in our life, and our thoughts, and our feelings, and our reactions that move around in this concept called the OK zone. It's our resilience zone. What you'll see here is we've got my favorite magic carpet from Aladdin, of course, chilling over here. And in his day, her day, its day, it's going to go from calm to excited, maybe a little worried. Oh, you know what? I'm a little tired from being so worried. Then maybe I'm sad because that relaxed, just so many emotions. Sounds like the pretty average day for an educator, let alone an adapted educator. Whew. Here's the big thought for the community resiliency model. Here's your common language, the OK zone. Our goal through teaching you these skills is to increase that resilience zone over here, to make the space in between the top line and the bottom line a little bit wider so that you can enjoy the ride at a different level. All right, Marvel fans, you see my homie the Hulk up here? This Hulk zone, woo! Here comes a stressful interaction. Here comes something traumatic. Here comes a trigger into your day. You're just cruising along, enjoying your carpet ride, and then this big hammer, anybody know what that hammer's name is? Come on, Marvel nerds. That's Mjolnir. Ashley, I see you over there like, I knew Mjolnir. So Mjolnir comes in, slams your day with something traumatic, something challenging. It'll either send you out of your resilient zone, way up top, hulking out, or perhaps it really bums you and it takes you down. And then you get stuck in that zone. Well, what now? If you're stuck in the Hulk zone, well, we want to bring you back down. If you're stuck in Sleeping Beauty zone right here, depression, I want to give you some skills to bring yourself back up. So why this biological model? Why neurology? Well, first of all, because that's my specialty. I'm kind of a nerd. I love helping people rehabilitate, specifically quadriplegics. I have a younger brother who fell and broke his neck many years ago. I've just been fascinated with the neurological system ever since. What we understand scientifically is that a physiological response begins in childhood. No surprises here, we're talking about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. Most of you educators are at least familiar with the word. If you're not, it's an entire seminar in itself. The implications for this physical and mental health outcomes, they last throughout the lifetime. This is the one of this slide that I really like. What are commonly viewed as behavioral and public health problems are often personal efforts to cope with trauma, with adverse childhood experiences, or with toxic stress. This concept of coping is very important when we start talking about the neurological system, even at a very lightweight. Our physiology is the factor that every human has access to at any moment. And as I'm looking at the screen right now, I'm reading a lot of things from folks. I'm reading the choices of what you chose to wear today, how you did your hair, makeup or not, where you're sitting, the lighting, what color shirt you're wearing. All of these are expressions of your neurological system, whether you recognize it or not. And that's the big thought. If you can bring awareness that every single thing you do is an expression, or don't do, is an expression of your neurological system, you're well on your way to being able to implement some of these skills. But you have to know they exist. You have to be in a place where you can access them, whether you to choose to access them. So here are the skills we're going to teach you about: tracking, resourcing, and the help now skills. Tracking, resourcing, and the help now skills. Notice that when I repeat something, it's probably worth writing down. Wink, nudge, high five. So something traumatic has happened, something stressful has happened. Here are some of the common reactions to that. They can be emotional, physical, spiritual, behavioral, relational. In my life right now, that's the hot one because my wife is 9 months pregnant. You can imagine there's some relational opportunities for growth. And then of course, thinking, the thing that I don't know if we realize that we're thinking all day long, but I kind of thought that was a fun thought. Like, oh, I'm just thinking all day long. When am I not thinking? I even wake up thinking, like in the middle of the night. Now that we've labeled some of these common reactions, I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to stop my screen share for this so you can see my big face. Speaker view really helps because I get a little animated during the story. I don't know if you read this in the description or if I put this in the description of this session. I was sitting across from my wife at a local restaurant on November 18th, 2018. And as my little girl reached across the table, at the time she didn't fully understand what an octopus was. We were eating calamari. She grabbed it and it was the first time she threw anything. She threw it across the table. It was at that moment that I knew that it was okay that my house burned down. I knew that it was okay that 99% of the items that I once owned, I no longer owned, and that the things that were most important in my life were sitting right there in front of me. I wish at that time that I had had the community resilience model skills under my belt. It was a wild day, and it's been wild ever since. I've seen a community just bind together to support each other and to support me personally, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. It's a wild time, and it's a great opportunity, especially now sprinkle a little bit of COVID-19 on top of that. Great opportunity for us to learn these skills, not only for ourselves, but for the ones we love the most. Take a deep breath after telling that story, because it relaxes my shoulders and it segues into a less awkward moment, quite frankly. I didn't know I was going to hear an intense story like that. Well, you're welcome. Some of you right now are experiencing some of these common reactions to my story. Some of you are experiencing your thoughts. Some of you can imagine that I was thinking all sorts of that weird stuff in the upper blue bubble there. That emotionally, man, I went through a little bit of all of this, some grief, some guilt, some shame, plenty of feeling anxious, some rage because I didn't know what to do with my emotions. At any given point, these are probably something that you're going to feel in your life, or you're going to witness another neurological system express. We call this moment a resiliency pause. I'd like to grant you all a moment of freedom from the screen to do whatever you would do if someone says, hey, take a minute. I'm going to start my minute right now. Ten-second warning. Come on back. All right, re-engage. Here we are. Jump into the chat box here, and let's take some shout outs. What did you do during your resiliency pause? Type your answer in here. Oh, pet your dog. I love that, Jacqueline. Stretched, had a nice little sigh. All right, it's interesting you mentioned the sigh. Look at you, Cynthia. Drink some coffee, stretched a little bit, drank some water. Wendy, you are brilliant, and you don't even know it yet. Or maybe you do. Got some water. Rosie, you used the box 4 count. Look at you. We're going to be homie, Rosie. We're going to be homies. Well done. Sadie had some food. Love it. Took a little water break, coffee break in there, some stretch. Checked on the kids. Love that, Cindy. Wow, you're jumping on your trampoline? Burning some calories. Now we're talking. Absolutely. All right, I feel it. Well, what you all just did was you unknowingly practiced one of the 6 resiliency skills. What you did and what I did, I prompted you after that minute to become self-aware, to look back and say, well, what did I do? That process of turning inward is called tracking. And that's the heavy lifter. That's the one that when we really dig into putting our mask on first and taking care of ourselves so that we can take care of others, before we get a chance to take care of another person, it makes very good sense to ask yourself, well, where am I at in my resiliency zone right now? Am I okay? Are we cool? Can I handle this? Because you're no good to anyone else unless you're taking care of yourself. This tracking concept is foundational for helping stabilize your nervous system. It's noticing, paying attention to sensations. When I say sensations, I didn't say feelings. The biological model talks about sensing, using all of our, may I say 6 senses, Cynthia? 5, 6? I put a question mark behind 6 because as far as we know, and our homie Neil would love this, as far as we know, we have 5 senses, but I bet there are a couple of empaths on this call that will nod their head and say, yeah, I can feel energy coming off of other people. I can sense things that others don't. Maybe you're even a little clairvoyant. Interesting. Different conversation. We're going to root into these 5 senses. Those 5 senses are how you track what's going on with all the wires and connectivity inside of you. That's how you start to ask yourself, am I enjoying this carpet ride today? A whole new world. Warm it up, folks. Here we go. Get your hands. I'm gonna stop my screen share here. Take a quick look at how this person's hands are. Like I said, highly interactive today. Here's what I need you to do. Get your paws up in front like so. Okay? Shake them a little bit. Clasp them together. And then when you tilt them towards the camera, decide which of your thumbs is going to be on top. Okay? If your right thumb is on top, nod your head like you're at a Metallica concert. All right? Okay? If your left thumb is on top, nod your head like you're at a Dr. Dre concert. All right. I've done this around the world, and around the world, it doesn't matter if you're left-handed or right-handed. This is just another incredible, I'd say, neurological expression. Let's get funky, people. Open your fingers up and zip them with the other thumb on top. Dude, Rosie almost barfed. That was good. I saw that. Yeah, how does this feel? Type your answers over there. How does it feel? Wrong. This is just straight wrong, bro. I got awkward. Yeah. No me gusta. All right, I feel it backwards, awkwards, unnatural, different. Oh, wow. Very, very simple with the different. I like that. Weird. I got you there, Asia. I feel it. Unusual. Well, then, if I may, let's get a little bit crazier. Everybody cross your arms. As we cross our arms, I like that, habitual, nice loud. As you cross your arms, notice that this is another expression of your neurological system. My question to you is, as you crossed your arms, did you think to yourself, oh, this fool's gonna ask me to get funky again? Take your arms, however you have them crossed, and try and cross them the other way. It's okay, Rhonda, if you're up there doing the dirty bird or whatever, I get it. I've seen people do the robot for like 5 minutes trying to figure this one out. The reason this one is so awkward, it's a larger motor pattern. And I think you would agree, it feels even more gross than the other way. Oh, Jacqueline, It makes me feel like I forgot how to cross my arms. Too righteous. I get that. That feeling, this moment of feeling something, sensing something with your neurological system that is just not copacetic. It's like sending red flags. That moment of turning inward is tracking. The moment when you're like, man, this ain't cool, this is wrong. Welcome to the Community Resilience Model and the skills. By the way, I implore you to try and do this around the dinner table. Make sure that the forks and knives are all the way on there, because some of your kids are going to love this. This is an opportunity for growth at its very basic neurological understanding. Da Vinci loved doing this. He was left-handed, so he had to learn how to write backwards across the page. Any left-handers out there like, I feel the left-handed troubles? All right, sharing my screen again. Let's jump back into it. They do this in yoga. I love that, Cynthia. Yeah, they're addressing your neurological system. I love that. Emiliano threw a quick reminder in the chat box. If any of this is triggering or just sends you out of your zone, talk to my homie. He's brilliant and bald and wonderful. He'll love to take care of you. Let's move on to some more tracking. Super important question here. The question is, when I asked you to, this is fairly low-hanging fruit, when I ask you to intertwine your fingers the opposite way, I would ask you, where do you feel that sensation in your body? And it's rhetorical right now because it's likely that you felt it in your hands. And what I'd like to clarify is that the sensation came from your hands, but you actually felt it in your brain. That's an interesting thought. That these are where the sensors are, but the processing happens up here in your noodle. I ask you to demonstrate these skills. Acknowledge it. Pinpoint it. Where is it located? Read it. Connect with it. The next step after you do that is label it. Do you sense another part of your body that is more pleasant? Well, let's try this again. Go ahead and intertwine the weird way. Now, sense another part of your body. Maybe it's your pinky toe. Maybe it's your knee. More opportunities to practice that skill as we're coming up. To displace the weirdness. I love the thought of displacement. Because when you shift your awareness from the weirdness of whatever that is, it trains your body. And it trains your neurological system. This is a great example of what Emiliano will lead someone through once they're triggered or not feeling well. Some of my body workers out there, some of my empaths. Oh, this slide is thunder. This is the stuff. We're going to chill on this slide for a second because I really want you to dig into some of this. I love looking at this slide and noticing where anger lives. Where does anger live? There's almost everybody knows someone that was so mad at one point that they punched the wall. Look at where anger lives. It lives in the fists. Look at where sadness lives. That cold feeling down in the feet. Fun moment. Where does happiness live? You ever see a child that's so happy that they just can't contain it, and they end up like doing like the skip, hop, walk, dance, might have peed a little bit like motion? It's because happiness overwhelms the system. You're listening to your favorite song, and you get that erector pili, all those little goosebumps. That is a systemic discharge that is, the next time you see someone that's that happy, you're gonna read it through their whole body. It makes sense that anxiety lives in the chest. It makes sense that pride also lives in the chest. Think about someone else's body language that's prideful. Not hard to read, because they're going to walk in with their chest out and head up. Very interesting. Where does love live? My Moana people again. Yeah, I feel that too, Cynthia. That anxiety one, that's interesting, yeah? That it living in the chest, feeling the compression there. I'd say, I think it's neat that they put anxiety right next to love, because all my Frozen fans out there know that the way to thaw fear and cold is with love. And that really just, I feel that all over my body, even when I get to say that. Each of these color-coded physical conditions is also, and this is another, I would just love this big thought, that is the demonstration of billions, I'll say it again, billions of neurons. A number that I can't even fathom. It's so massive, just distributed everybody. Our life experiences inform those billions. Let's keep moving. Everyone, if you like this slide, you're going to get the whole deck afterwards. This one's fairly fun to share with your loved ones, with your friends, and for all you biomechanics nerds out there that like to read body language, speak what I would consider as a whole language all on its own, you can see this played out at some of the neatest places, airports, schools, places where more than 10 people gather. If you're a people watcher, this slide is money. Moving on. In order to expand our well-being, we have options here. You can either do it through thinking, sensing, or feeling. And today we're leaning very heavily on the red door in the middle. We're leaning on sensing, because sensing doesn't process the same way as thinking or feeling. This could be, as far as us other science nerds out there, we're not going to dig into this today. The science behind how our body demonstrates this and how our brain is just fascinating and makes all this happen. We're looking right now at the insula. It's the part that really keeps us, I'd say, alert, and that helps us really process all of this. Body awareness can reduce impulsivity and promote emotional regulation and clearer thinking. And we've got our homie, the insula, there to thank for this. Like I said, I could spend an entire day just talking about the brain and the insula. If you notice when I move my head to the side right here, I also have one of my other little famous little homies. This is the amygdala. Between the amygdala and the insula, woo, that's where we get all our fight and flight and all of these sensations processed. If you can't hear the excitement in my voice, that's what a nerd looks like. Being part of physical therapy and enjoying the understanding that discomfort can live in your foot and affect your brain, there are actual neurological, and by that I mean biological wires. If you've ever held a wire in your hand and touched two ends together, that's actually what's happening inside of your body. I loved the anatomy portions of my education, because through the cadaver, we could actually trace one specific neuron all the way up the body. Woo! Very nerdy, very fun. Not going to touch on that a lot today. What we do need to understand is that process of looking inward, the insula, interoception, tracking. Through practicing this, a person may begin to notice subtle sensations throughout their bodies and use this awareness to experience a richer sense of self. Increase in social skills, hashtag super single out there, huh? Yeah. And better control of your emotions. Taylor, who's sitting behind me right over here, super single. After she's learning this, she's sitting down in front of dates or in front of, frankly, anybody with a whole nother understanding of dude that's sitting in front of her, especially when it comes to insecurities and compensation mechanisms. This awareness brings sparkle to life, people. Brings sparkle to your life. You see it in all sorts of places if you choose. And frankly, for me, it's helped create even deeper connections. Like even as I'm looking around here and I see Cynthia and Rosie and all the people that I can't see, but just put your profile pics up there. Tino, I want to know homie, right? Like this sensory awareness and these skills that focus on pleasant or neutral sensations may establish new neurological connections and result in positive neural pathways that compete with or replace existing negative pathways. We're talking about displacing poopy thoughts with yay. We also say things like potty in our house right now. And there's different ways to, I'd say, observe all of this. There's different ways to read it. You can observe just through looking at a person. You can look at their posture, their muscle tension, their relaxation, breathing, skin color. You can check on your own internal climate. And this is right back to my empaths out there. If you're picking up a weird vibe and your gut's telling you something, listen to it. Your gut is incredibly sensitive neurologically. There's like millions and millions and millions of connections. Here's an example. You see those red, blue, and white lights go on behind you? You don't need to think about, you don't need to tell your body, oh no, this could be really shitty. You know instantly that it's probably going to be intense. Or at the very least, you'd rather not have someone standing at your window asking you how fast you were going. That's your gut demonstrating that it's a heck of a resource. If you check on your internal climate and you notice something inside while you're talking to another person, pay attention to it. Or I should change my words. Don't pay attention, invest attention to it. And of course, you can do a personal self-report. My favorite way to report personally is to my journal. You can ask yourself the questions, what do you notice happening inside? Are the sensations inside pleasant, neutral, or unpleasant? We don't say positive or negative. We specifically steer away from those words for lots of good reasons that I don't have time to get into today. Pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. This biological process that happens automatically when the body releases stress energy and comes back, well, I would say, into balance. It's pretty neat. Sensations can include trembling, tingling, yawning, stomach gurgling, burping, warmth, cooling down. So again, you're sitting across from a person, 6 feet across, or maybe you got some plexiglass in front of them, and you notice them doing something. Sometimes they call these tells. And once you can read tells, you have a completely different opportunity for existence. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share for a second, and I'm going to give you some tells. You ready, y'all? What does this tell you? What am I doing right now? Somebody type it into the box, in the chat box. What am I doing? Yeah, nyininking. Pondering, that's right, thinking. Not hard to, what I'm actually doing right now is, we would socially say that I'm thinking, because most people that do this are thinking. This is a way to calm myself. Thank you for being literal, Lloyd. I definitely appreciate that. Here's another one. Judging. Cynthia, that's good. Here's another one. How many people crack their knuckles without even thinking about it? Big tell. I got another one that's fun. I rub my nose like that sometimes. I'll adjust my glasses for no reason. How about this one? Anybody carry some stress in their shoulders? What are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about, stress in the shoulders. What are you talking about? How about this one? You're driving along, someone cuts in front of you. Not hard to understand which finger's coming up. Most people don't even have to think about it. It's just it's built in their neurology, just a reaction. Let's get in that group chat now. What are some other tells, some other neurological releases that you've seen out there? Get funky, people. Rolling your eyes, biting your nails. Some of them are kind of funny, you have to admit. Tugging your ear, that's an interesting one. Rubbing your eyes, clearly you're tired. Or rubbing the back of the neck. Jacqueline, I saw you crack your neck there. That's a big one. Playing with your hair, that's right. Chewing your lip, love it. Ashley, thank you for that demonstration. You're on point. There's some other ones that are, the more you open your awareness to this, yeah, Monica, you got it, cracking your knuckles. There's some other ones that are very interesting. How about putting on lip balm or lipstick? How about, oh, look at what I just did, right? Resting your head on. All of these are neurological tells. Tapping pens or pencils, that's a big one. Shaking the legs, chewing on the pencils if they're kids. That's right, educators. You probably know a long list of this one. And I hope this next one kind of punches you a little bit. How many of us, in a moment of nothing else to do, whip out your phone? That is a neurological tell right there that we can leave a whole bunch of information from. Like bored, need stimulus. Interesting thoughts here. Yeah, Russell, you got it. R. Russell, Miss R. Russell, I got you over there. Drinking water. That's another one that some people just drink incessantly. Let's continue to think about those, not just today, but you're going to be fascinated. Oh, here's another couple ones that aren't necessarily that positive. Smoking a cigarette, fidgeting. I think we saw that one on there. If you can open yourself up to these physiological tells, you're going to get inference into how you're communicating, how others are reading what you're communicating. Some of them are incredibly blatant. Let's keep moving. Back to screen share. Thank you for engaging, everyone. It really helps on this side. So now you've started tracking, and you notice you're out of your zone. You're either way hulking or you're bummed, you're sleepy beauty. Now what? This now what? This is the stuff that kind of changed it all. We're going to teach you now that you've looked in, we're going to teach you the help now skills. Most of you already do this because your neurological system already requires it. What I hope you do now is that now you add another layer of understanding or awareness that you're not just drinking water because you're like, hey, I'm thirsty. There could be other reasons why you're drinking water. There could be other reasons why you like Metallica instead of George Winston. Every single one of these neurological-based sensory inputs should give you more information than I just like music. You're freaking out. You're way out of your zone. Here are some very easily accessible options. You can listen to some sounds. You can count down to 10, from 10. Notice your surroundings. A big favorite in the community resilience model is to push against a wall. Think about what that does to your neurological system, to feel the weight of that gravity. Touch something in nature. Right now we're practicing, I got little Reese walking up to trees and hugging them and naming them. Frank the plant, her favorite. Frank the plant and Rapunzel hang out for hours a day. Go for a walk. That's low-hanging fruit. It feels like we've all kind of found that in the time of COVID. Feel the temperature. Touch your furniture. Some of you like those leather-bound books. Nice mahogany. There's a reason why we resonate with those things. And the one that is in the bottom right corner here, focus your attention on something you see. I think that's a very helpful displacement tool as well. Now, let's go ahead and grab some of those items that I asked you to keep by you. Your glass of water, your earplugs or noise-canceling headphones, maybe a flower, a candle, or something else that you associate with positive scents. I should have said pleasant scents right there. Maybe a small, heavy item. an item that you can play with, a pen or a writing implement or a paper, anything that brings you to your journal. What my grandpa made for me, because I was a very, very energetic and my parents didn't know any better back in the day. I was born in 82. My parents, I would wake up, make myself a bowl of Lucky Charms, wash it down with a big glass of milk, and then Skittles and Dr. Pepper for lunch. I didn't have ADHD. I was just all hyped up on sugar, bro. So my grandpa made me something. He made me a thumb twirler that I would bring to class with me. This is one of my sensory attenuation items. What I'm going to ask you to do here, Alicia, let's get those groups fired up. You're going to go into a breakout room now. You're going to get all 8 minutes. At the 7-minute mark, you're going to get a reminder that you have about a minute left. Alicia, I don't care, but it feels like you can put them in appropriate groups, like groups of 3, maybe.
3?
Yeah, you cool with that?
Perfect.
Cool. So you're going to be in groups of 3, have 8 minutes to discuss why you chose one of your sensory attenuation items. I would say discuss why it's convenient and then how you hope to share that with another person. You've got 8 minutes. Can I answer any questions before you jump off into your rooms? All right, party animals. We'll see you in 8 minutes. Enjoy the conversations with potential strangers. Alicia, will you keep Emiliano and I here?
Yes.
You're doing awesome. Oh, keep Nick Harris here too.
Okay. Let's see. Scott. Yeah, if you just don't accept that the invitation to join one, then you'll be able to stay on here.
Oh, we know.
Yeah.
Alicia, you can send us to the group just by ourselves with Scott and Nick. You can create just one for us.
Sorry, Nick. Emiliano, you're cutting out.
8 people in the room.
Emiliano said, can you put Emiliano and Nick and I just in our own room? We'll
yeah.
talk about a couple things.
Yeah.
And Alicia, I have the, I'll personally message you. I've got the timer, so I'll message you at 7 minutes.
Okay, sounds good. I also just set them for 8 minutes.
Oh, look at you, Zoom Ninja. Zoom Ninja.
I only created enough rooms for everyone here, so I'm trying to see if there's a room I can send you to. Not quite sure how to create another one now that we've already made them.
That's cool. Guys, let's jump on to our text right here, okay?
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Jump on the text, homies. Welcome back, homies. Welcome back. Welcome back. Just like any good teacher / presenter should do, I want to hear from my people. So let's take some report outs as people start to dive back in here. This is where you will use your voice. I want to hear some words from some people because, I mean, I get kind of tired of my own voice. I'm sure you can imagine. So does my wife. Some report outs. So some common themes. Unmute yourself or raise your hand and Alicia can call on you. What were some common themes, some favorites, and what are some of your least favorite help now skills? Favorite help now skills, least favorite, or common themes? Well, let's hear it. Jacqueline, hit it.
So I was talking a lot with Cindy from Boys and Girls Club, and we had a very common thing about always like carrying water with us. And you know, you made me think when you mentioned like, do we drink so much water because we're thirsty, or are we like using it as almost like a coping mechanism in some ways? So that really like connected with me, because I'm like sitting here drinking a ton of water, like maybe I should have slowed down during the Zoom call. So that was definitely our common denominator.
All right. Very, very cool. Thank you, by the way, Jacqueline. It takes courage to speak to us. I love calling out the moment of courage. We're like, you're the first person to go. If you were in town right now, bam, crazy high five.
Yay, thank you.
Thanks for breaking the ice. Who's up next? Who's going to tell us some of the favorites or least favorites of the Help Now skills? This is my favorite part of the Zoom call, where I just sit here and wait for someone to talk.
I'll go.
Yeah, who's that? There we go. I'm ready.
Our group was we were pretty common on how we don't normally would use sensory items, but we all would like listen to music or play some type of music during the day, start our day off. One of our breakout members did use Play-Doh, but you know,
All
she's
right.
so yeah, we all just commonly use music basically though. Yeah.
Well, I love, Lloyd, that you said that, because now my next question is, who's your favorite band? Who's your favorite artist?
I listen to a wide range of music. I don't have like a certain person that I always listen to or favor.
BS. Everyone has a favorite.
No, I don't have a favorite.
All right, this is not going to go well, but I can't wait to find out who your favorite is. Let's see, Katie in Montana. Let's throw Lloyd a bone here, okay? What did your group talk about?
We had 3 things that we kind of went along with. One was scent, so whether it be a candle or incense or the action of making a candle, just choosing those scents that are relaxing and calming. We also talked about walking and just like taking that mental break. And then the last thing was sleeping, which I couldn't personally relate to, because if I'm stressed out, I usually can't sleep. But we all kind of agreed that if you're exhausted enough trying to stress out over something big, that sleep comes pretty easily. So that was the common 3, I think.
All right, the way that we applaud someone on Zoom is we give them the shake. So shake it out for her. Thank you so much, Katie. Appreciate it. Isn't it fun to see everyone like come alive for just a second? It's like, go good. We're all there. Let's take one more call out. Common theme, favorite, least favorite. Who's up? You can tell we're not going to roast you too hard. So show us that courage.
I'll go ahead and go.
Thank you, Rosie.
So we all had different things. Basically, you know, like toys, something that keeps us busy, something that we do. One person in my group said that just something as simple as rubber bands, you know, that she plays with when she's trying to focus or pay attention. Another person in my group pointed out that reading in quiet time is that, you know, calls attention, and it's something that gives us, you know, time to themselves where they can just read. I pulled out the Rubik's Cube just because it's something that keeps your hands busy, and I mean, I pointed out the fact that I never really saw the appeal of it. I just had it in my sensory box for the kids. And one day it was a slow day and I was playing with it and I was like, oh, what's the big deal with this? And, you know, just talking to people, and I can have it under the table and it's not distracting. It's not, you know, me looking or picking up my phone every 5 minutes during a training. I can just twist it so I can keep paying attention. And now I see, and now I have like 7 of them. So
let's give Rosie the love, people. Shake it out. Rosie, because I can tell we're on the same level of nerdiness, there's a YouTube, just a quick 7-minute video about how the Rubik's Cube came about, who Rubik's is, and how he just one day was like trying to solve a math problem. Check it out.
you look it up.
Oh, it's fire. Thank you, everyone, for your courage in stepping up. That's another model of the CRIM skills, is to acknowledge when someone demonstrates a neurological moment. And there's that moment right before Rosie pushed the, yeah, I'm about to talk to a bunch of strangers, where her neurological system did a bunch of things. And I don't know if you saw it on here, but Rosie and Katie, because you were the two that I could see, your physiology did something right before you spoke. Both of you kind of looked up and to the right, which is super, well, it was probably up to the left where you're at. That's another tell when a person is thinking or preparing a neurological discharge is your eyes. There's mostly ladies on the call. Ladies, your eyes tell stories. And if you can learn to read that amongst, and to, it's fascinating stuff. Separate concept. Back to my screen share. Hey, we're cruising right now. We got about 15 minutes left. We're going to end with a couple of minutes on the clock. So good news there. And getting over here, we've got, the neat thing about these help now skills is they're fast acting, they're varied. Like how many different things do we heard everything from music to Rubik's Cube to walk to, we got a bunch of good stuff. They're easily identified. You can see when someone employs one of them, even if they don't know they're doing it. Woo, that's the spicy. And of course, they're adaptable across demographics. Those of you that work with adapted populations, you're probably even more versed on how important it is to have some of these sensory items available. Now, a longer and probably deeper, I would even say more robust form of tracking, opportunity to use tracking, is resourcing. These are some of my resources right here. I love that they can be a person, place, thing, memory, a part of yourself that makes you feel calm, pleasant, graceful, peaceful, strong. I heard a bunch of people want to flex out on that one. Love that feeling. It can also be real or imagined. There's a part of me that wants to be Captain America, but I'm probably more of a Tony Stark. A resource can be internal or external. What you're seeing right here is my sweet little Reese music. My lovely wife, Jenna, who doesn't know that I put this picture up there, feel free not to tell her. You also see one of my places that this is my happy place right here. I walk into Guitar Center and I'm like, I'll see you guys in 6 hours. Once my fingers are bleeding and I can't hear, I know that I'm in well within my resilience zone. And then as we've all pretty much said on this call, nature is a great place for really bringing ourselves back into that sweet spot. There's something about the way that our neurological system interacts with nature that I think many years from now we're going to find out is special scientific stuff. It's also likely that as I mentioned those examples for myself, you're probably got your mind going there. Well, once you're there, and this is another breakout room coming up here in a second, once a person is there, and what Emiliano has taught me to do is we've identified a resource. Now we need to deepen its sense of its felt sense. We would ask questions like, who helped you the most? What gives you strength? Tell me more about that Rubik's Cube, Rosie. What are some details about your resource? And for that, an example that I use is I use a guitar pick. This is another one of my convenient fidgeters that I just love. I also love, this is another one of my favorite really big thoughts is as I'm playing with this, if you see someone doing something like this in front of you, putting their neurological system on display, you can acknowledge the shift. I noticed that you're crying right now. Well, tears are great. I like to make a little joke about that. I say, tears are like farts. You got to let them out. Because if you keep them in, they're just going to get stinkier and stinkier and stinkier. So let them all out so we can enjoy it. Ashley's like, I don't know about that one, dog. Don't worry. I try and break up the intensity. Gently invite a person. This invitational language is incredibly important. Invite them. to bring awareness to different parts of their body that feels more comfortable and neutral. And ultimately, you can always throw the flag, and if it's too hard, ask if it would be helpful if that resource isn't the best one for that situation. Here's the big thought. Back to my guitar pick right here. When you think about one of your personal resources, and you describe it to yourself, you're going to pick a couple of qualities. Notice the sensations that connect to your resources as you describe the qualities. And this is that big thought. We have an incredible tendency as humans to either oversimplify, overcomplicate, or overcompensate for some of these resources. What I hold in front of you is not a guitar pick. This is a miracle of engineering, design, and centuries of people trying to play guitar with blood fingers. It's got a very specific type of plastic it's used. It's shaped specifically. It's measured at 0.1. This is not a guitar pick. This is a miracle. Just as every single one of you that are on this call right now, there are more molecules in one of your eyeballs than all the known galaxies that exist. You are a miracle of creation. There's so much special about you that we're not going to get to enjoy with our senses. Be aware of when we oversimplify things. I'll let that sit there for a second. As Ashley strokes that miracle of evolution. Dogs? Are you joking me? That used to be a wolf is like just a couple hundred years ago. Neil will talk to you about that when you jump into the cosmos. All right, practice. Good talk. Thanks, bro. But this is what you're going to need in order to really implement these first 3 sets of skills. Practice, patience, and try and enjoy your newfound ninja brilliance. We've got about 7 minutes left for dynamic discussion. Questions, comments. I've got a pocket full of dad jokes. And then, of course, we're also going to give you the chance to, I think you get to fill out like a how did I do, which is super awkward, by the way, because we're still on the call. So, thank you for that. But I'm going to open it up right now to, if you've got comments, let's hear your voices. I'd love to hear what your voices sound like. Resourcing is one of the, which is not spelled correctly. Anybody catch that? Obviously, the longer opportunity to dig into a pleasant thought, emotion, imagine. We went over the help now. A taste of grounding is to feel gravity, to be really essentially connected to the moment. Gesturing is another skill. I don't know if you notice that I am not Italian, but I talk with my hands. Gesturing, mirroring another person, it's an incredible body language awareness. And then another skill is shift and stay. We ask someone once they have acknowledged and pinpointed where their discomfort or their unpleasant sensation comes from, we ask them to shift to the awareness of another place. And each of the ones that we did not talk about today, we could talk about for about 8 hours because they're deep. Oh, thank you, James. I feel the love. He makes a great point. He's like, yeah, you better be entertaining on a Zoom call or else deuces, and I'm going to go do something else. So that's another thing that I think is, that my compadre back here tells me is we can feel authenticity, even if it's through a screen, because we're so hyper-conscious of body language. So I'm sure you can understand I did my best today to give you all a taste of what it's like to be in the office or on a screen Zoom call with me. Thank you, Estella. I appreciate that. Warms my heart. Kind of wells me up a little bit too. Because what you all just saw, little bow for you here, what you all just saw was my neurological system on display for you all, which I think is kind of a neat thought too. All right there, Tia. It's about time to kick it back to you. You got the conch, homie.